Today, I'm going to share with you how I went from this to this without trying. I lost a ton of weight in less than a year and have kept it off for well over a year, and it took no effort at all, and I'm going to share with you my secrets. Why? Because you've been asking, and because some of you are concerned, and because I have found a trick that made it so easy. And no, it's not Ozempic, it's not any sort of supplement or fantastical diet or expensive program or anything like that. It's no crazy diet routine, no gimmicks, nothing to sell, no gatekeeping. Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. I understand that today's video is not my usual content and some of you will want to skip it, and that is just fine. No hard feelings. I will see you next time in regularly scheduled programming. For those of you who stayed, I invite you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Click the like button and leave a comment if you wish. I even find this sort of content challenging to make because I find it really awkward to talk about myself, but I understand that this could be of use to some of you who have similar goals, and so I'm happy to share. So this is where I started. For context, which I find really important to disclose since we're talking about weight loss, this was like late 2022, early 2023. This is where I was at. I was like a size 10 or 12, depending on the brand, and I wasn't exactly real jazzed in terms of where I was at with my weight, because I've always been somebody who loves fitness and was in really, really great shape. I bounced back really fast after my first baby, but I endured a few injuries that prevented me from being active and created a lot of stress for my body. I had a lot of inflammation, and so that's a little disclaimer here that as I recovered and rehabbed from those injuries, that may have contributed to the speed and ease at which I got back into shape, because muscle memory to an extent is sort of real. It can be easier to get back into shape and build up muscle that you previously did train. So that's just, I think, only fair to disclose. But now I am like a size 2, and I've stayed a size 2. In less than a year, I got down to a size 4. In fact, it was really more like 8 or 9 months. It was a really steady weight loss, I think, because I am online. This is my job. Some of you have seen a video that's from quite some time ago, and then you see a new video and you're like, whoa, you lost so much weight. Are you okay? Or think that it happened really, really fast, and it didn't. Technically speaking, it was very steady. If I look at how many pounds per month I lost, for example, it was so steady, because I too was like, this is really easy and I don't feel like I'm trying very hard. And so I kept track to an extent to make sure everything was fine. So I think it can change the perception or like seem really dramatic online, because it's like, whoa, from one video to the next. But it was pretty steady, and it took, like I said, 8 or 9 months, and then I've just been staying here. So what's the big secret? No sense blabbering on for forever. It's jumping. And I know that seems insane, but what I did differently was I added jumping into my routine. So as I had come out of 2 years of really disciplined physical therapy twice a day, every day, and finally felt well enough to try exercise, I knew I didn't have a ton of time to dedicate to big workout routines or anything like that. I'm very busy, just like everybody else. And so I wanted to approach getting back into physical activity and just feeling better health and getting back to my comfort zone of my weight where I feel the most comfortable. I wanted to approach it efficiently and strategically. So I had done some research on what are some of the most effective forms of exercise in updated studies that have been done recently. I find looking to scientific studies and journals to be a very beneficial part to my decision-making process. So this was no different. And I came along a study by NASA that found that jumping is ridiculously more effective than jogging. 10 minutes of jumping can burn way more calories than 30 minutes of jogging. So I decided to try jumping a couple times a day, 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes more, but only for like a minute or 2, maximum 3 minutes at a time. So little short bursts, because I would not be able to make excuses to skip it. Even if I felt sick or like had a cold, I still did at least 2 times a day for at least 1 minute each time of jumping, because you can't really tell yourself that you can't do it if it's only a minute or 2. You just can't. It takes no equipment. It takes almost no time. And the way I kept track to make sure I didn't ever skip was each time I went to brush my teeth, 2 to 3 times a day, I would jump right after I did that. And it allowed me to just make sure I got it done every single day. It really, really worked well. What do I mean by jumping? I literally mean just holding the boobs still and jumping up and down in place, as if you're jumping rope, but without the rope. You just hop up and down. Yes, it looks insane. Yes, it's ridiculous, but it worked. Over time, of course, I started feeling better. I saw that my injuries weren't flaring up with more exercise and activity. During the entire time, I was still stretching and doing some degree of my physical therapy stuff because that just helps my injuries stay calm and keeps me pain-free. But I did eventually add certain other activities like a sprint occasionally or some weight training occasionally. During that first chunk of time, it really was pretty much just jumping and my usual stretching and sort of range of motion exercises that I had been doing forever for my injuries. It didn't use any sort of a program. There was nothing fancy happening, just jumping. One thing that I think might have helped make it even more effective was because of the timing of when I jumped, it was usually close to or following meal times. And studies have also shown that getting some degree of physical activity shortly after your meal helps you burn up those calories a little bit better and helps your glucose levels stay really, really balanced and those sorts of things. So that may have helped enhance the effect even more, perhaps. But that's the big secret. That's the big change. A lot of you have asked what my diet is like. I feel like that would be kind of boring to include here. So if you guys really would like a video about my diet and what I sort of eat throughout a week, I'll make it for you. Just leave it in the comments and let me know, and be sure to click the like button. Then I'll know that you guys really want the video and we'll watch the video, and then I'll put it out. A lot of you have asked what I'm doing now to stay fit and keep the weight off. Basically the same thing, but I do a lot more weight training now. I still jump, try to jump at least a couple times a day still, just because it's so effective, but I have to jump a lot longer before I feel tired or any sort of like cardio effect. I have to jump for like at least 3 or 4 minutes now, whereas before it was like a couple of minutes. I did feel it in my calves or felt like, oh wow, I really got a little bit of activity in here. And so since my endurance has changed, I go for sprints a couple times a week probably. But I do weight training 2 to 3 times a week at least. I really enjoy weight training. I always have. And I focus on larger muscle groups like working the legs or the glutes because, again, that's more efficient. You burn more calories working larger muscle groups. They're just more effective. And I enjoy them. I think that's nice sort of sculpting opportunities there. So now I would say I do more proper workouts, but the weight loss itself really was achieved through mostly just jumping. I mean, of course I was intelligent about my diet, but I always have been. The thing that really stood out as the biggest change that I made that contributed to the weight loss that I had was the jumping. And it was so easy because it was so quick, so simple, no excuses to skip, never did skip, made a huge difference. As we all know, those sort of slow and steady wins the race. Consistent changes that are sustainable over long periods of time is what will really draw out good results from people, especially if you have a weight loss goal. And that's what I did. It's boring, I know. It's not sensational, but it worked. As far as like relevant background, like I said, this is more of my usual size, and I did have some contributing factors to my weight gain, like pregnancies and breastfeeding and my injuries, which were really intense and difficult and stressful. And so that inflammation and whatnot may have also been a contributing factor, not only to the weight gain, but as that all calmed down, to enabling an easier weight loss. I also do not have any sort of like metabolic or hormonal issues that do make it more challenging to lose weight. And so I just think it's only fair to disclose those sorts of pieces of information if you're going to talk about weight loss at all, to give the full picture and any relevant info. I also have struggled with anemia, relatively significant anemia, around this same time. Although I do think that I got it pretty well under control during that year. And so I don't think that that would have been a contributor to weight loss necessarily. I think that's really the only things I can think of that would need to be like disclaimer. As with most things in life, I think the natural approach, the steady consistent approach to things is the best way to lasting results. And sometimes we can get really impatient about those sorts of things, or we put up roadblocks for ourselves. Like, this won't be a big enough change to have an impact, or I don't want to wait that long to see results, or I want something to fix this now, or that's not going to be enough to change anything. Those sorts of roadblocks are just nonsense. Do not listen to them. Something that I think really helps to think about in order to prevent us from dismissing solutions or finding things as inadequate before we've tried them is to remember that when it comes to weight loss, you'll feel the results and the effects of it after about a week. It'll take about a month to see them for yourself, to see those results in yourself. For about 3 months, people who are close to you in your family will notice changes in your physical appearance, your energy levels, and your size. And after 6 months, everybody will see it and notice and be like, wow, you look so different. After about a year, you'll be like a whole new person. Now, that can seem like a long time, but with just little changes to your habits that you can sustain over that time frame that are really consistent will make it easy and it will last. So if you want to make the changes or you want to lose weight, just make it for you and make it for health, and do be patient. Give it a try because it really did make a difference for me. Thank you so much for joining me for this little video. I hope that you found it at least somewhat fun and interesting to watch, and I will be back with normal videos tomorrow. Thank you so much again. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!